Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Astral Self Monk's features and kind of be doing a deep dive into what they have to offer. Let's do this. At level 3 we get Arms of the Astral Self. So the way I think about Arms of the Astral Self is that for the cost of a key point and a bonus action we kind of activate our features. Now what are these features? Well, first off we get these glowing arms that we create and they can attack with unarmed strikes at a 10-foot range. We also get to use our Wisdom modifier for our unarmed strikes, and it's going to allow us to use our Wisdom modifier in place of our Strength modifier for strength checks and saves. And when we activate it, since we're losing out on our martial arts attack, it gives a little bonus where it does a save. If they fail it, it does 2 martial arts die of damage. If they succeed it, it does no damage. It's a small thing, but it keeps our damage up because we're missing that martial arts attack. So this feature enables a 10-foot range, meaning we can do hit and run attacks against creatures that, don't have a long range. It's a wisdom focused, so it allows us to do stunning strikes. So we can do hit and runs and stunning strikes. So this is the perfect monk, right? It can do everything. Well, no, this monk actually comes on super weak. Now let me explain why. The first off is our weapon attacks are better than our unarmed strikes. At this level, we're doing D4s with our unarmed strikes. So we're using a key point to do less damage with our action. And if we don't use that key point, then we're going to be a normal dex monk, and we're wanting to specialize as a wisdom monk. Meaning if we run out of key, all of a sudden we become a very ineffective base monk. We've lost the ability to do our wisdom-based attacks, and it's all based on our key. It's not going to be as good at hit and running because we are 1, using our bonus action to activate ourselves instead of saying hex. 2, we are using a key point to just activate ourselves instead of using flurry of blows. Even at level 5, when we're activating ourselves, we're taking away a stunning strike. We are just trying to do too many things at once, and we're not specializing enough to do anything well. And remember, for me, monks are all about specialization, and that is really seen here with the Astral Self monk. We come on really weak. Now, the one thing that I have 0 complaints about here is that we get the wisdom grapples. That's huge. That feature alone changes us from having no specializations to being the most specialized grappling monk there is. And so if I was going to say there is one standout feature from those arms, it is the grapple portion, which you might not expect. At level 6, we get Visage of the Astral Self. This is a very awkward feature. So this gives us a second form of activation, or we can combine them for the same bonus action to activate both the Visage and the arms. But if we activate the Visage, it's going to be a key point, and it gives us the following benefits. We're going to get Devil Sight, we're going to get advantage on insight and intimidation checks, and we get the ability to either speak really hella loud or kind of telekinetically to one person. This is weird for a monk. It's very social oriented, but intimidation, we're going to have garbage charisma. So it's not going to be a big deal that we're getting advantage. Insight will be nice, but it's a key point out of combat. There are times where I could see the insight being nice. There are times magical darkness is going to be in effect, and having the ability to see through it is going to be nice. There might even be niche moments where talking quietly is worth a key, or booming over a crowd is worth a key. But if we're just talking about combat, this is not going to shine in combat barely ever unless there's magical darkness. Our power level essentially increases 0 by getting this feature. At level 11, we get Body of the Astral Self. If we turn on both arms and Visage at the same time, we get a body to go along with it, which is going to give us a certain amount of benefits. As a reaction, Body is going to allow us to reduce the damage by 1d10 plus our Wisdom modifier to certain types of damage. These damages include fire, force, acid, cold, thunder, and lightning damage. On top of that, once per turn, we can just add a martial arts die of damage to anyone that we've hit. So this is going to be 100% worth it if we're facing a dragon who's breathing fire, right? We just want that damage reduction. But is it worth it for the martial arts die just in general? So for 1 key point on top of our normal Astral Self, we're going to get to be able to do 1 extra die of damage per turn. So this extra damage is essentially flurry of blows every turn minus our ability score modifier of damage. So the longer the fight goes, the more turns it goes, the more valuable this 1 key gets. I'd say if you think the combat's going to be 3 turns or more, it's going to be worth it. Otherwise, hold it for later. Now, I want to say about this level 11 feature is it really leans us towards the more hit and run play style. And that's the thing about Astral Self Monk is at level 11 and beyond, our hit and run starts getting a lot better, but it comes on so late that that hit and run playstyle isn't viable for such a long time. So there's almost 2 ways to think about the Astral Self Monk. You have early Astral Self Monk who has to be clever about what they do, and then you have the late Astral Self Monk who can just be a good monk. You go deep into Astral Self, you have good stuns, you have good flurry of blows, you have hit and run tactics. All of that is really coming online too late. So there's 2 builds essentially you need to think about. If you're doing a campaign that's starting at level 9, then you're going to want to do a certain playstyle with Astral Self Monk. But if you're starting at level 1, you're going to want to do a completely different playstyle. So Astral Self Monk is really weird and divided based on their levels. At level 17, we're getting Awakened Astral Self. This takes 5 key points and it summons all of our astral abilities all at once, and then awakens them on top of that. When awakened, we get a +2 to AC, and we get an extra attack as part of our attack action every turn. turn. 5 ki sounds like a lot of ki, but keep in mind that we are getting 4 attacks a turn with this ki, one of which is doing an extra martial arts worth of damage, and that's before we spend any other ki. That's pretty dang good, and it allows us to do a hit and run playstyle quite effectively because we're getting off 4 attacks, basically 5 with when you add that extra bit of damage. Whether or not this feature is going to be good really is combat dependent because it is kind of a hefty price at 5 ki points, so we need to get the most out of it. The combat needs to drag on for a while. So overall, the Astral Self Monk is meant to be a hit and runner. That was the design choice, and they achieve that if you get them to late levels. However, they struggle a lot at early levels, and we really have to work around that. Just going straight Astral Self Monk, you're going to have a long time period, like levels 1 through 8, where you are just behind everybody else unless you have to get clever with your builds. But here's the thing, sometimes when you get clever with those early level builds, it affects your late level builds to not be as powerful. So you really have to choose based on your campaign where your focus lies. In my next video, I'm going to be doing a build that focuses on being as powerful as possible between levels 1 and 6, and that build is very different than the build you would take if you were starting campaign at level 9. Starting campaign at level 9, just go straight Astral Self Monk and focus on being a hit and run stunner. That's really where this subclass was meant to be, a hit and runner who also has high wisdom to do pretty good stuns. That was its niche, but we don't achieve that niche until too late. And so in my next video, I'll show you how to do an early level Astral Self build, and I hope to see you there. But that's just my take on Astral Self Monk. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, but other than that, have yourselves a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.